Here's my early reaction to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and we should tee this up. This is the sequel to the 2018 film Aquaman, starring Jason Momoa and Amber Heard. And this film was, I would describe it as something of a lost film, in the sense that this movie made $1.2 billion. James Gunn comes in and has now taken over the DC franchise. Now he's in charge, and I believe too soon announced that, well, all these other movies that haven't come out yet, everything from Black Adam, Shazam 2, The Flash, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the follow-up to Aquaman, he kind of threw them under the bus and basically told all of us they were irrelevant. And every single one of those movies underperformed. Why? Doesn't matter. Those movies don't seem to matter to the DC universe, cinematic universe going forward. That's 4 films that we're told, you know what? Forget that. We're going to start the whole thing over with a new Superman. He had the opportunity to continue it. James Gunn had the opportunity to continue with the universe as it had already been built up, and could have even had Henry Cavill as Superman and had some vision with the castings that were already in place. That didn't happen. But I'm only going to give you my early reaction with no spoilers. Alan and I will be discussing it on our Friday show. But here's what I'll tell you about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And I'm going to dispel a few rumors. I'm going to tell you my thoughts. First of all, there's no dead baby in this. We meet Aquaman at the beginning of the movie, and Aquaman is a proud father. He's now built a family with Mira, as portrayed by Amber Heard. And as was reported to me last week, yes, there is 2 scenes where Aquaman's baby pees in his face. In fact, not just his face, in his mouth. It's a goofy, dumb sense of humor.
It's brave and it's beautiful.
Whatever. It's played for laughs. It could have been worse, is all I'm saying. Amber Heard is in the film. And I'll just say this. Aquaman's baby is not murdered in this, is not killed. They do not kill the baby at all. Now, is the baby in peril? Yes. Does he get killed? I'm just gonna tell you, whether you consider it a spoiler or not, it's been out there. He does not. The little boy is fine. Amber Heard. Let's talk about Amber Heard. She is in the movie, I would say, about 20 minutes of the film. She's in about the first 10 minutes. And then she's in about the last 10 or 15 minutes. Here's what's odd about Amber Heard in this movie. She's in the movie, but she doesn't play a big part. How did they do this? There's an opening action sequence that involves Nicole Kidman's character and Amber Heard's character, and they're racing around in the undersea kingdom. And Amber Heard Mira gets injured in a way. I think this is kind of funny. She's injured in a way where she has an injury on her neck, and she doesn't talk for much of the film. I'll say this. She's in the movie for 20 minutes and has about 5 or 6 lines in the film, many of them inconsequential. And she's not a big part of the film, which feels weird. They 100% shot around diminishing her character, and she is a presence. I don't see how and you could tell the opening montage, which kind of is just like Aquaman talking about his life. I'm a dad now, stay-at-home dad, but I also have all these responsibilities. I'm the king. So he's the king of Atlantis, and he's got to do a lot of boring stuff as king, but he loves being a dad, and he loves drinking Guinness with his dad, played by Tamura Morrison. He just loves drinking Guinness, beer, and kind of kicking around, being a dad and changing diapers. And that's what Aquaman does. Hoo-ah! That's my Jason Momoa as Aquaman. So we kind of get a setup of what his life is. And then Black Manta comes back. Black Manta discovers a power source that was used by ancient Atlanteans that is also dangerous to the earth. So there's a whole messaging throughout the film of um, like hurting the environment using power sources, right? Like the earth, the surface dwellers are ruining the environment. We used to do that, but we figured out through science different ways. We don't do that anymore. There's sort of two, in terms of like messaging and the message, there's only two things in this film. One is about the environment, which is fine. I think Aquaman was always sort of an environmentally based superhero. Obviously, preserve the oceans, don't pollute or litter. Fine, I don't have a problem with that.
And love the animals.
And there's love the animals, but there's also a thread about eating bugs. I'm not joking. There's a thing about eating bugs. How do I want to put it? Like, Patrick Wilson's character, the Ocean Master, he as a joke, Aquaman's like, hey, you should eat these bugs. And then he kind of likes eating bugs. It comes out. There is no post-credit scene. There's sort of a button at the end, and I'm not going to tell you what that is. I won't tell you what that is. Also, a character, Randall Park, plays a much bigger role in this film. He's Dr. Stephen Shin. He's working with Black Manta, but he feels as a scientist, he feels a little guilty. He understands the dangers that this new power source, has introduced. And Black Manta finds this broken trident that once connected, he then becomes possessed by a demon. The demon who was the head of this old realm, the Lost Kingdom, that is referenced in the title for the film. So Black Manta's wholly obsessed with destroying Aquaman and his whole family while he's possessed by this demon spirit from this old lost realm in the undersea world. This is straight up. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the action sequences. This is straight up a Super Friends cartoon from the 70s and 80s. It is the worst script for any DC movie that has ever been written, and I'm including The Flash. Okay.
For Wonder Woman 84.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
It's stupid. There are dumb lines where I feel like, was Jason Momoa just like goofing on the set and they left that in? Because he talks a lot. Once he reconnects with his brother, he has to break his brother out of prison. And when he breaks him out of prison, they then reconnect. It becomes like a buddy movie. This is all in the trailer and has been reported. But once they do that, he jokes. There are multiple jokes about getting drunk, getting tacos and tequila, drinking beer. That's just Jason Momoa.
That's the connection with the end of The Flash, remember?
Exactly. He's just like, he loves to drink and just hang out and be Jason Momoa. But I'll say this. While it has the dumbest script for any DC film, maybe not as bad as Wonder Woman 84. It's just stupid. This movie is incredibly fun. Where I had to kind of check myself where I'm like, I know this is dumb.
You said this about Thor when you walked out of Thor.
No, let me finish. All
right.
This is, if you were 7 years old and you saw this film, you'd think this is a cartoon. It's stupid. I had fun. Now, is it a great movie? No. Our audience is going to care? No. I'm surprised how Mira is handled in this, where it's like she's there as a character, but they literally took her character and she has like so few lines. So she's in scenes and she just doesn't talk.
She just exists.
She's literally in the scene. They're like, oh, just cut all of her lines. The other thing is the movie is it's just like 2 hours with credits, and it feels just the right length for once. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is not a great superhero movie. This is a cartoon for children. Okay. And what I'm surprised about is, whereas you look at the Marvels, I'll just, on the scale of like Marvels to anything better than the Marvels, this is better than the Marvels. Now, that's a very low bar. It's an incredibly low bar, but the movie is so stupid. Anyone that would try to take this seriously is, you're just, it's an adventure for children. That's what this is. Now, children, I mean, probably single digit age through like maybe 15, 16. But it's also, the one thing I also found refreshing is it's unburdened by the check boxes that Marvel always feels obligated to include. None of that is here at all. So what can I say? I had a good time. Is it a good movie? No. Did I have a good time? Yes. I just like, some of the action sequences are so ridiculous. He's got this seahorse that he rides around. There is an octopus that he buddies up with to help break his brother out of prison. That sequence, there's just like ridiculous, over the top action sequences where you could look at the Marvels and you would say, well, how did the Marvels cost $300 million? And then I look at Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and I say, well, at least it looks like the money's on screen and it's not all green screen or the volume. There's actual real locations and they built sets. And I like the arc with Randall Park's character. I thought that worked. And it's a message about family and responsibility. It's all those things where, that are absent from modern day films. And it's interesting. It's like, oh, wow, this is like Marvel movies when Marvel movies were fun and just fun. Now, it's incredibly ridiculous. That's why I compare it to Super Friends. Like if they did a Super Friends cartoon from the 70s of the old school, like Aquaman, and then just made like a 90-minute or 2-hour like Aquaman adventure, this would be it. It feels like an animated movie that has that Super Friends kind of tone. Now, are there cameos from other DC characters? There are zero, none. At all. So, and there's sort of a ridiculous button ending that I'm not going to get into spoiler stuff. You and I will get into spoilers on Friday after other people have had an opportunity to see it. Because I went in with, my expectations are so low for this thing that's part of, I think, why I had fun with it, is because I didn't take this movie seriously. Just like, Flash, the Sam Jones Flash Gordon from the 80s. It fits in well with that. So, surprised that I had a good time. Not a great film. And, it's a little sad. Like, this is the chapter closing on the Snyderverse. That's it. They had that little intro that they do for all the DC films where you see the intro that they've used. And Mike, obviously that's going to change. But it was just so like, I'm like, I know this is stupid, but they're just beating the crap out of giant mechs underwater. It just gets, every action sequence just tops it over and over. So you could say at least James Wan did his job as director to make it, I mean, it moves quick. You can tell that it could have been a 2.5-hour slog. They cut it to a tight 2 hours where it's just like, builds towards a third act with actual stakes. And, I don't know. I had fun, but I can't defend the quality. I'll just say better than the Marvels. What are you laughing at, Alan?
Yeah, it's like, it was bad, but I liked it. It was, I mean, I'm seeing it tomorrow, and so far in my IMAX theater, it's me and this other guy,
right?
And I'm like, I mean, I'm doing it. I'm doing it for you guys.
Look, you're going to be able to see it in 24 hours, right? Everyone will have seen it. I'm just saying.
In fact, I will, in 24 hours, I will be in the theater watching this movie.
Can I just say this? Okay. What superhero movies came out this year? Let's do an inventory.
Okay.
Right?
Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle,
The Marvels,
the Marvels.
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah,
Ant-Man the
Guardians of
Wasp.
the Galaxy 3 is
Yeah.
the best superhero movie.
Okay. Ant-Man,
Yeah.
Flash.
Flash. Okay. All right. Those are the movies that superhero movies that came out this year doing an inventory. Guardians 3, the best of those films. Aquaman and the Lost
Oh,
Kingdom.
Shazam. We forgot Shazam.
Shazam. Yeah, yeah. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, probably the second best. Like, if Guardians 3 is here,
Mm-hmm.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom's here, and then everything else below is whatever. It was just refreshing to see a movie that isn't, because I feel like with Marvel, they're so obsessed with, we got to have the check boxes. We got to make sure we got everything there for everybody to see. You got to have this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. And the check boxes is what's killing Marvel.
Yeah.
Everyone involved with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, there was one checkbox that I felt that they checked fairly well, which is fun. I messaged a friend of mine on social media. I said, the 7-year-old version of yourself would love this movie. And I thought that way. As I was watching it. I watched.
Yeah.
Do you watch the show on YouTube? It's called Saturday Morning Cartoons.
No.
It's where they look at old cartoons,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't even know that this happened. It's the guys from Chop and Steal. They do this show.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
It's the Found Footage Festival. Go to the Found Footage Festival. Found Footage Festival has a YouTube channel, and they have a show every Saturday morning called Saturday Morning. And they watch like rare cartoons. I didn't realize that in the Super Friends show, they killed Batman. They did a whole thing where they killed Batman. They show like these rare episodes that didn't air, because it went into syndication. They didn't there were certain episodes they didn't show. So they'll dig up these old episodes. And I was watching that going like, oh, I remember how fun the Super Friends were watching that when I was a kid. This is an episode of the Super Friends taken from 2D animation into 3D. There's a character called Kingfish that Aquaman and his brother have to go see. They're talking to Kingfish, who's basically Jabba the Hutt with a bunch of sexy fish women in bikinis. Like, you're not going to see that in a Marvel movie. They're like sexy fish people in this film.
One thing you mentioned was the one thing I missed in the first movie was, Aquaman talking to fish. And it sounds like we've got that in this one.
It's in this one. It's definitely in this one. And they do even the same effect from the Super Friends.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's like these little, circles that kind of go out. They do a 3D version of that. So it's like talking to fish. He discovers early on that his son can talk to fish. Mm-hmm. And so,
I don't know. It's like Ahsoka and Hera's son.
Exactly. Yes, as the Jedi powers.
No, I mean, so what you're saying is that Aquaman was made for little preteen boys and not for comic book fans.
I don't know. I don't know the Aquaman comics as well. I only know from the cartoons and some of the animated. The DC animated stuff is, some of those are fantastic. They're straight up like adaptations.
Yeah. But I mean, I think Super Friends is the one I'm most familiar with because I watched it every damn Saturday morning.
I grew up watching Super Friends, loved it as a kid. Mm-hmm. Literally, this is Super Friends if they did like 4 episodes of Super Friends just telling one Aquaman story. That's what it is. And on that level, the movie, because every movie, you can't judge every movie the same. What's it trying to be, right? You can't judge Oppenheimer with the same set of eyes as a superhero movie or a movie made for children. You can't judge Migration the same way you judge like other films. Yeah. I've seen Migration, by the way. I have thoughts on that. We'll talk about that Friday. So you don't have to see it, Alan.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. So some things I'm picking up from you. One is, it's fun. I think the Marvels, the intent was the Marvels was going to be fun. Where did Aquaman succeed where the Marvels failed?
They had a genuine buddy relationship with his brother, and they don't like each other, but they have to work together towards a common goal.
So there's conflict between the main characters.
There's conflict between the main characters.
All right.
And there are moments where, they're just I we'll get into spoilers on Friday. How about we do that?
Yeah.
Because there are certain things that I want to talk about. I just don't want to ruin surprises.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and Black Manta is a good villain. It's something that Marvel's always struggled with. One, too many check boxes to make it fun. Okay. Here's what Marvel struggles with. Too many check boxes that make it sort of sucks the fun away. Aquaman doesn't have that. The other thing is about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. You don't need to see any other DC movies. If you've seen Aquaman, you can just watch this as the second film.
Yeah.
You don't need to know about the events that happen in Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League or The Flash. Nothing that has happened in any other DC properties affects this movie. It is literally a direct sequel to the first Aquaman film. That's the only movie you need to have seen. And you know what? If you haven't seen it, don't worry. You get a little sum up at the beginning. You don't need to have seen even Aquaman to watch Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So
I'll say this. I mean, one thing that I'm picking up from you regarding Aquaman versus the Marvels is there's a self-awareness. There's an awareness of what this story is, and we're going to kind of build it that. It may not be the greatest story in the world, but it's a story for kids. It's just meant to have fun versus the Marvels where, they thought they were making something great, and it just fell apart from the very beginning.
And Black Manta's a really good villain. The actor that plays him, let me get his name, is Yaha Abdul Mateen II.
Yes.
I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. He's very good, and he almost has like a Khan-like madness. He's scarred from his conflict with Aquaman in the original film, so he's out for revenge, but now he actually has the power where he can like face Aquaman head on. He's amassed this power. He's been sitting there waiting for his revenge, and it's coming. So and also Dolph Lundgren comes back as King Nereus. So there are other parts, but you don't even need to have. You don't even need to.
I barely remember the first movie, honestly.
Look, I barely remember it either. I'm just like, he became Aquaman. Great. Yeah. He hooked up with Mira, and they kind of give you a little sum up at the beginning. But it's literally. But the point is that the problem with the Marvels was there were so many like required things that you needed to know before you watch the Marvels, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom you don't need to know. Now, will this movie be a hit? Unfortunately, it will not. Mainly because of where we are now, that there have been so many weak superhero films, people don't want to gamble and just go see another one. I mean, we were looking at the box office and like how many people have bought tickets. You're literally in a theater by yourself, Alan.
Yeah, it's me and another person
right
far in our large IMAX theater.
But you know what? I never felt with the Marvels that I ever wanted to see the movie ever again. And with this, I'm like, this was so stupid fun. I would see this like with an audience. So, and there's nothing that like, I know people are kind of shocked to hear me say this, but my expectations were so, and the movie, the trailers show you nothing. You haven't seen anything about
the trailers do a disservice to the movie because I don't know anything about the story from the trailer other than Patrick Wilson's back and Black Manta hates Aquaman.
That's all. That's the basics. Black Manta is out for revenge. He's out for power, revenge. He wants to kill Aquaman and his family. And Ocean Master.
Yeah. And there's never been a superhero movie that ever had that plot. Ever.
Look, at least it's not checkboxing. You know what I mean? The checkboxing that Marvel is known for.
There's no eye-rolling moments. I think that's what we're saying.
Well, if there are eye-rolling moments that have to do with how dumb some of the lines are.
Right.
Like,
but in terms of the message and the lecturing, there's no lecturing in the movie.
There are groans, but not cringe.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
The cringe would be like another.
Yeah. It's like in the Batman, the one line that took everyone out of the movie.
That there's nothing like that. There are no cringe lines, but there are eye roll lines just because it's so dumb.
Yeah, it's dad joke lines basically.
Dad joke lines, but not even that bad. But there you go. My early reaction is the 7-year-old version of me who used to love watching Super Friends enjoyed watching Aquaman and the Lost
No.
Kingdom.
I'm still not excited to see the movie, but I am more optimistic that it won't be a horrible time.
So it sounds like what you're saying is they gave Aquaman the Thor treatment. How original. Well, happy Hollywood holiday, boys.
Yeah.
But wasn't Aquaman always kind of a goofy? They made him a little goofy.
No,
When you look
I
at
think he's referring to the brother. Thor had Loki.
right,
Aquaman.
right.
Yeah.
I guess, but I don't know. I just think that there are
Well, and
in
it's also
Thor,
the guy who would be king but doesn't necessarily want to be king.
right. But I also think that there were, especially that last Thor movie, there were parts that were just insufferable and cringe. I don't think there was anything in this that was cringe, unless if you are bothered by Amber Heard, you will not like this movie. I don't care about her. I think Amber Heard is a person who is a horrible person, who appears to be in court and in her relationship with now Johnny Depp's no angel, but she seems not to be a great person, and she plays a character named Mira. And she's in the movie for, I don't know, I'd say less than a third of the film. And even when she's in the movie, they made it so she's kind of not in the movie, meaning she's in scenes in many different ways, but she just has no lines. I don't know who made that as a choice. It just makes it feel like she's barely in the movie. Yeah. She's in the movie like 20 minutes.
Yeah. And there's that scene where the baby poops the bed, but was it the baby?
Alan, there you go. That's my early reaction. And look, I am just as surprised as you. I did not expect to actually enjoy myself at all. Maybe it's the season. I'm enjoying the holidays, but it didn't come with baggage or burden like Marvel movies see. Mm-hmm. Almost every Marvel movie seems to come with baggage, burden. You have to know this. You have to know that. Oh, you don't know. Oh, there's another Easter egg. Yeah. I'm sure there's a ton of Easter eggs in this.
Well, I mean,
I just want a good story.
The Marvels was, I believe that they felt self-important while making that movie. That they were doing something grand. That they were, we have the three women leading a Marvel movie, and not to say that they couldn't have pulled it off, but the reality is they couldn't pull it off.
Well, you need a story I care about, and that was not present there. Okay.